Hi, this is Eric from Cafe Watercolor and welcome to another quickie painting video. Let's jump into it. So you might hear the raining sound in the background because we are pouring right now. So it's actually a good thing because we had a week of smoky air because of the wildfire. So now we got pouring rain that just washed the air clean. So I am really glad it's starting to rain. So anyways, this specific photo actually was given to me by one of my friend, and he's just asked me if I can, try to paint this. So I start to do that. And I thought this would be a very interesting image because the photo is very low res. So that kind of forced me to focusing on the big shape, the value, and the color. I like the color quite a bit because it's nice and bright, sunny, which is something I kind of needed at that time. So I just did a very quick drawing. I didn't intend it to be a very sophisticated painting. This is more going to be like a sketch. I'm trying to treat it as I am actually there at the location. So I try not to think too much and just kind of go for it. So I didn't do a value study or anything like that. Not saying that if you are doing plein air, you don't have time to do value study. You actually do. Andy Evenson did that a lot. But just during that specific night, I thought I was just gonna go for it. So after the drawing, the first wash, I pre-wet some of the areas and paint the color of the light, which is the light color on the sand and some of the buildings. A lot of buildings, even though they look very bright, some of them are actually white, but because of the sunlight, they got a little bit of warm glow to it. So that's why I did a initial first wash with just those bright colors. And now I'm starting to do a wash for the sky. So as it reaches the horizon line, I start to add a little bit more alizarin crimson just to start to make things a little bit more purplish, change the color a little bit. I actually should have transitioned that color a little bit earlier because now it results into like a pink stripe. That's something that I'm actually not that happy with this painting. But aside from that, I still like the overall result. It was just more like a fun little practice, fun little sketch. So I didn't really mind the result that much. So with that, I continued down to the water. And I try to leave out some white for the boat. I didn't use a masking fluid. I just kind of don't want to do that. I just want to paint around the boat in a bit more spontaneous manner. And a lot of time when you are doing a painting, I said it before, don't give yourself the pressure that it has to be a successful painting. It has to be a masterpiece. A lot of times it's not really about that. In this case, I'm really just painting for fun. So I was actually doing live stream when I'm painting this painting, but the internet has some issues. So the video on the YouTube become pretty choppy. So I didn't keep that on my channel. But fortunately, I still recorded the whole process on my local machine. So now I can share that with you. So this is more like a second wash. So from the sky down to the water, and I try to connect that to the foreground trees. The foreground trees is one of the funnest part because I get to play around with the color and wet onto wet, which you will be seeing that in a minute. So this is sort of the third wash. I'm starting to put in some dark to add some contrast and suggest some structures for the buildings. There are a lot of buildings there and I actually didn't spend a lot of time drawing them. So I was hoping to kind of just suggest them with a little bit of light and dark contrast, and hopefully that will kind of convince the viewer that there are a bunch of buildings there. Now if I would spend a little bit more time, I might do a more proper drawing and to paint a little bit more neat. But in this case, it's just a quick sketch. I just mainly want to capture the light and the color into the painting. So all the buildings and stuff, I am just very quickly indicate those. So again, it's about visual language. Now, this visual language is quite messy and simple. But the point is, if you have a light and a dark right next to each other, your eye perceive it as some sort of form changing, turning. So a structure appears. So that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm also trying to kind of take a look at the reference photo, see what colors are there, because the photo resolution is very, very low. So what I can only do is trying to get a glimpse of that and paint that. And when I'm painting something complex like these and I want to really loosen up, I will just try to glance at the reference photo and see what jumps out to me at my first glance and paint that into the painting. So it's almost kind of intuitive when I'm doing that, instead of really trying to analyze what I see and try to paint it down sort of more logical, appropriate way. So this painting almost kind of have this abstract feeling to it, just because I try to go over it so quickly. That being said, I still spent about an hour in this painting. I'm just not a fast painter. But I also think that speed shouldn't be a priority. I think a lot of masters, when they are painting very fast, like somebody like Joseph Bookfish, he can whip out a really nice looking painting in about 30 to 40 minutes. That's because he has a very clear idea what he's going to do. So not a single brushstroke is wasted. So he might not appear like he's moving really fast, but every single brushstroke counts. And I think that's what happened when you see master working. They don't do a lot of unnecessary actions and they don't do a lot of unnecessary brushstrokes. That's why they can paint so fast, but still appears to be very calm and have a really nice painting as a result. So I am now painting the foreground trees. And I really like those trees because those trees really sets the depths of this whole picture. And they are darker in value, they're also larger, and they got some very nice, delicate, beautiful details there. So I'm trying to do this in one go. So I painted in the dark value and I also try to splatter some waters on it just to add a little bit more texture. So that's why you can see there's little dots of brightness within that wash. That's me trying to take some water, just tap the water from my brush so that you get some nice big droplets. And as you can see, as I paint those droplets on the paper, they get a little bit bigger and they form into interesting textures. So it doesn't look that stiff area. Because anytime you have a very large dark shape, it's very easy to make it very stiff and dead, especially for color like green. And it's ironic because green is supposed to be the color of life, but in terms of painting, it's very easy to make it dead. So splatter some water on it, do some more wet onto wet, and change the tone of green a little bit, cooler and warmer. That really is going to help when you have a large area of green right here. So for this painting, the foreground tree is definitely my favorite part of the painting, just because the variety of color tone and the texture there. So I had a lot of fun playing with the foreground trees, the wet onto wet and all that. So here I am trying to fill in a little bit more details. Again, I want to make it look like there are a lot of buildings there, but I'm also not necessarily trying to really make sense of all the marks that I'm making. So if you're looking at this video and you saw, man, what a mess, I will take that. I admit this painting is quite messy because I'm really just trying to paint almost completely intuitively instead of really trying to put into the effort to make those building looks perspectively correct and things like that. And even these boats, I'm just adding maybe 2 brushstrokes of dark just so that it looks like it's some sort of form on the ocean. And that's about it. I'm not making extra effort to really even think about the silhouette of the boat. So here I'm trying to do a glaze over the lower sky because the value changes kind of bugs me. It's a little bit too abrupt. Below the purplish color is a little bit too pale. So here I am trying to make it a little bit less abrupt Still, that stripe of purple still kind of bugs me after I do the glazing, even though it does look a little bit better. So if anything in this painting that I'm really just honestly not happy with is the sky. The wash should be a lot smoother. So oddly, the messy building didn't really bother me, but the sky is actually bugging me quite a lot. But anyways, I really have fun painting this one, so I don't really regret doing it. And I still like the overall result. I actually like the overall color and the light of the painting, and I especially like the foreground trees and stuff. But again, it's sort of a messy painting, so maybe in the future, if I got more time to invest in it, I might paint another one. So the last finished touch is I do a glazing on the water surface. I feel that it should be a little bit deeper just to separate that with the sky a little bit more and just make that blue a little bit more intense and saturated. So I have to kind of skip around all the bows and stuff. That's a little bit of a pain. But I'm glad I did that finished touch. And here is the finished painting. Again, a very quick, fun little painting. I hope you enjoy that. I'm quite busy lately, so I am not able to put out a lot of longer format video, but I hope this little short quickie demos can still help you and you still enjoy watching those. I'm Eric from Cafe Watercolor. See you next time.